How do we deal with loss? So, loss comes in many different bottles, in many different shapes, and many different experiences. Right? There's loss of the end of a relationship, and then there is loss as in the end of a life. It's parts of a relationship. Um, First, let's acknowledge why it's difficult. Well, quite frankly, because it's fucking horrible. All right? It is horrible to lose somebody we love. It is not something that I've experienced it, and it's not someone I would not wish this. I'm even getting just flustered saying it, right? It's not something that I would wish on my worst enemy. Having to go through the conscious experiencing of saying goodbye to somebody we hold very dear to our hearts. What this video is about is how do we deal with that? Okay. Now, for you watching this, I'm making this for you who either are going through this, who has this journey ahead of them, or who have been going through this process for a while now. The very first thing to recognize is how we deal with it is dependent on some sort of subconscious emotional behavioral pattern that already exists inside of us. Right? Now, to use this in kind of to what's the word I'm looking for? Layman terms, easier terminology. Hypothetically speaking, in make-believe lands, right? Actually, we don't have to make-believe land. I can use my own experience. In 2012, all 5 of my best friends passed away. 2 of them were very, very close to me. One of the 2 was like a brother, right? And 3 of them were also very close friends. So that, to put it mildly, was a shit year, right? Very, very bad. How did I deal with it? I nearly drank myself to death. Okay, because this was the coping mechanism that I had at the moment in time back then. Now, what do I mean with it's a pattern that's already in us? Well, prior to that, I was already drinking in order to numb some of my earlier life traumas, right? My earlier life pains. I was already drinking, not on the same level at all, right? But I was already drinking in order to try and mask and manage these pains that life had already kind of put within me and on top of me. So of course, when this tragedy struck and I experienced this tremendous, overwhelming calamity, oh my God, I drank so hard. I'm still trying to figure out, did I actually try to kill myself or was I just trying to forget completely? This is something that I dealt with and I incorporated the whole experience, into my current version of my personality and my self-growth and my own evolution as well. And I gave up alcohol completely since 2007. The reason I'm sharing this with you is because full transparency out of personal experience is always, always, always much more valuable, right, than just hypothetical examples. Not that there's anything wrong with hypothetical examples, and there is value in them, of course, as well. Just for me personally, I like to use personal examples. It shows you that not only do I know what I am currently talking about, but I have also experienced it. So back to the question, right? How do we deal with loss. If we don't have guidance and we don't have enough clarity, and if we don't truly really understand and know ourselves well enough already, while this tragedy hits, we resort back to whatever negative traumatic pattern has been instilled and programmed into our bodies through past life trauma. Now, past life trauma, I'm not talking about like past lives, as in Buddhists, Hindus. I'm talking about earlier life trauma. Yeah, that's actually much better terminology. Earlier life traumas. In other words, if something happened during our childhood where we learned that, oh yeah, it's not good to feel pain at all, right? Because if I feel pain, then mommy and daddy will kind of not love me as much, because mommy and daddy told me that, yeah, it's not good to feel pain, and if you feel pain, then you're weak. Then by the time that something horribly tragic like this, like loss, happens in our own life, in our own experience during later stages in our lives, when we are adults, then we build a wall around us that is so thick and so strong that we shut down. We become numb. Okay, so we don't become numb per se because of the experience. We become numb because that mechanism has already been present inside of us, and the experience then amplified it. At the end of the day, really, it is a coping mechanism, a self-preservation and protection mechanism that our body resorts to in order to actually protect us, to help us survive this horribly intense experience that we're going through. So it has a positive. The positive is it is your body objectively trying to protect a subjective vessel, right? A celestial vessel. The negative is, well, my body was trying to protect myself, but I nearly killed myself drinking in the process. So I think the negatives can become quite obvious as well. I'm sharing these things with you because this is one of the areas that I specialize in, right? I have got some very, very personal experience. Plus, I have helped many people through very tough life changes like this. If this is something you're dealing with at the moment, just reach out to me. Reach out to me. You don't have to go through this alone. All right, but the most important thing that I can tell you is change happens when you decide you've had enough. All right, change happens when you decide you don't want to be the same anymore. Change is a conscious decision. And change does not mean the world around you has to change. Change means you decide that you do not want to be the same anymore. Take care of yourself.